Welcome back to the podcast. I am my Fallon Jordan, of course, the I Am Fallon Jordan podcast. And I'm so excited to continue these conversations around where the metaphysical meets neuroscience, and what beautiful way to dig more into that connection than the relationship we have with food and the relationship from our brain to belly. So I actually have Yayoi Komiyama, who has this amazing Facebook group, Brain to Belly. And if you're listening, you know I'm very picky about my Facebook groups and Facebook usage alone. It's a love-hate relationship. And she is one of the most beautiful people. I've met her through the Facebook community. We go back with the Amen stuff, but we didn't even talk until recently. I didn't even know. So that's one of the things that's so beautiful, is like when you just say yes and you're just listening to your intuition, like beautiful things happen. And then we already kind of feel like we knew each other because I was doing all those training videos. So one of the cool things is that, we met through the brain health certification through Dr. Amen, but Yayoi is also a dually certified neuroencoding specialist, certified life transformation coach from ICF and ACC, which is incredible. She's a John Maxwell Leadership Coach. I absolutely adore him and all the things that he's doing. And then also a senior leader in the Tony Robbins Community and a presenter, which, as we know, is always a big deal when you drop Tony Robbins' name. And she has spent 20 years in wellness and has successfully helped countless people, help them rewire their brains to become healthy, both in mind and body. And this helps them feel saner and happier when they are managing food. And it helps them learn to respect, care, and love their true selves so they can no longer look great, but feel empowered and magnificent too. So thank you so much for being here. And thank you so much for living your beautiful mission. So I would love to hear just about the journey to this being your jam. Cause I mean, you can, with all these certifications, right? Like you can kind of do whatever you want.
Well, I didn't realize I had so many certifications until you said that. And I was like, oh yeah, I did these. Okay. But my journey, gosh, it started with myself because I myself, as a kid, I've always been a little chunky. And then when, let's see, I'm Japanese, but by origin, but I'm an American now. And as a child, we traveled from Japan to the US, and so I looked very different than other people. So you get bullied, you get teased, and so I started going inwards, and then I used food as a way to manage all of that, so that I wouldn't have to feel the hurts that I felt. So food became like a friend to me. And it was a friend and a foe. It was a double-edged sword, more or less. But I used it to protect myself, more or less. And I used to call it my fat armor. I'd create this armor of fat to protect my heart because I didn't want to get hurt anymore, because, kids are vicious, and I still remember a few things that kids say. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that was really nasty, but those are things that kids do. And in order to protect myself, I started eating and eating and eating and eating. And it was also a way not to deal with any of the meanness or to, fight back or anything. So that's where it all started, really, more or less. And then as I grew larger, of course, people always tease you about that too. And I think what happened was when I went back to Japan, my family moved back when I was about 11 or 12. So that's a, age where you're very sensitive to how you look and things like that. And in Japan, I was, even if I was fit in the US, I was big in Japan because everyone's kind of like, skinny. So I didn't fit that mold. So of course that also stood out. And the fact that I also lived abroad stuck out. So I was teased about that. I wasn't really accepted. So of course, ate more. And of course I get heavier and heavier. And I think I first started my first diet when I was like 12 or something like that, because my mom realized how I was not accepted and she wanted to help me get accepted and all this and that. And so that was when my journey started with all of this nonsense of dieting. I remember like during summer break, I would be on different diets and I would be running around my backyard just to get like, exercise in, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I remember even wearing these stupid sweatsuits,
Oh
these
my gosh.
sauna suits. I don't know if you remember those.
Our wrestling team, we
Oh,
knew when it was time for wrestling because
yeah.
they were just in their suits,
Yep.
sweating as much as humanly possible. They did the trash bags once. I was
Yeah.
like, my claustrophobic self, I'm like, I can't even imagine what that feels
Yeah.
like. It sounds so horrible.
I know. I don't know about trash bags, but we did wear those stupid suits. And I remember, yeah. And I would exercise with those on, thinking, okay, I'm going to sweat it out. Right.
Yeah,
And you think that's the right thing to do because you don't know any better.
exactly. Yeah.
And the internet wasn't around back then either.
Yeah.
So for me anyway. So, I did that. I starved myself. I've done pretty much any diet that was out there. I think I did the original Atkins diet. Um,
Wow.
I did like eating all apples or eating all grapefruits. I did cabbage soup. I did like a more recent, like into the 90s. I think I did the Master Cleanse, which was like really, really popular at the time.
The cayenne pepper
Yeah,
lemon.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah, yeah. Now the thought of it just makes me feel nauseous.
I
But
know.
yeah, but I mean it did, release some weight, water weight, right? Any of these
Hmm.
released water weight and other weight for a while, but it never changed the way I thought. And I
Right.
even did Weight Watchers and I did it 3 times. And the first 2 times I did it as a diet, so it was on or off. And the
Hmm.
third time around, I decided, you know what? I was going to do it as a way to eat healthy and just be sane because my eating habits were really insane. Like it was either feast or famine.
Yeah.
And, I went through an eating disorder as well, where it was feast or famine. It was binge and purge, more or less. And since I couldn't throw up, I would purge by exercising
Yeah.
and really healthy. Yeah. Right. So I've been through it all. And then that, and realizing that I got through it, I got help. I did go to, different, I got treatment from professionals about with the eating disorder. So they really helped me to change the way I thought
Hmm.
about things. And even at Weight Watchers, a lot of it was, of course, there's the food and the plan, but a lot of it focused also on behavior changes and the way you thought about things. And that was what I really took in. And that's what really helped me to get to where I am right now. Because right now I've been at my goal weight for more than 20 years, more or less, and maybe fluctuations of 5 pounds here and there. But I'm happy at where I am and I feel sane. Like I'm not struggling with what am I going to eat today? How am I going to burn off the calories? Because
Hmm.
just thinking about that, I can remember all the tension that was inside me and I could feel my energy just going like this, right? And
Right. Yeah.
tripling. Yeah. So it took me learning, a lot of looking into who I am, what my habits are, learning about myself. I'm the type of person that hates being told what to do.
Same.
I'm not good with authority figures, really. Yeah,
That's
I
why we
don't
make good coaches, because like we know what it's
think
like.
we think outside the box too,
Right. Right.
And so, when a diet plan or something says you have to do it this way, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that way.
Hmm.
Or, I'll rebel against it. Or if somebody says you can't have sweets or you can't have this or you can't have that, I'm like, well, watch me. I'm going to do it, right? So it's crazy, but so I learned that about myself and I learned that, everything isn't black and white like I used to think it was, and that
Right.
there are different shades of gray in between. And learning to live in that gray zone kind of has helped me to really adjust and feel saner because it's, if you think black and white, they're two extremes. Whereas gray is kind of like in the middle, and you could take any shade of that gray and it's like a beautiful place. And you can go from one light to a light gray, to a darker gray, to a medium gray. And when you start thinking of that, you could create all of these beautiful shades. I used to do black and white photography,
Oh
and
my God, so
black
cool.
black and white photography is all about different shades of gray, right? And you have the
Yeah.
black and the white to give it contrast, but then you have those different shades that create these beautiful photographs. And when you think of yourself as like, a photograph, for instance, create yourself into different shades of the grays.
Hmm.
And I think that's like almost magical. And
For sure.
it's taking it a little at a time, little changes at a time, and saying everything isn't black and white. It's not good or evil. Everything, you can't label food as good or bad.
Yeah.
It's what the meaning you give it, or
Hmm.
the actions you take are the meanings you give it. And we forget to do that because, growing up in this society, especially, you're told this is good, this is bad, or this is right, this is wrong, right?
Right.
But we're not really given the choice to make our own decisions. And I think that's really, we kind of lose that ability. We've lost that ability a lot in society throughout, living in this modern world. So I kind of like to, with brain to belly, I kind of want people to think back to who they really are. So I'm last year, Barbie was really popular, and I
Yeah.
love that movie.
Me too.
And at Comic-Con, I dressed up as Barbie last year
I
in
love
New
that.
York Comic-Con. But anyway, and I loved Weird Barbie in the movie as well. And I was like, God, I wish everyone could be like loving of themselves and be themselves like Weird Barbie is, and to be
Hmm.
proud of themselves like Weird Barbie. And I'm like, I want to be Weird Barbie, right? And
100%. Like we all
yeah,
need to be weird because weird is just different and we're not meant to be the same anyway.
exactly.
So the more you can be, like that's why you came here. I mean,
Yeah,
that's why you traveled very, very long distances through all these galaxies and came at this
exactly.
very specific time. And
Yeah,
that's why I love having these conversations around food and its connection to the brain because we need it to survive. Just
yeah.
like money. Like I love talking
Hmm.
about money because we need it to survive.
Yep.
But how can it be a spiritual practice? Like, how can you tie that in, like you're saying about like your photography and like that creative, artsy part of your brain? That's why like there's people who love cooking. And if you've ever
Yeah.
worked in a restaurant, you've been around a chef, you know how very passionate they are
Oh
and how
yeah.
they like things a very specific way
Oh
because
yes.
it's their art, it's their mastery.
Right.
And I think that's just such a cool thing for people to remember is like, it's not just about, oh, I have to go get some food. It's like, oh, like I'm going to go, what do I really want right now? Like, what do I feel like is going to nourish me for the
Exactly.
goals that I have for the rest of my day? And really
Yeah.
just changing that, right? That's
Hmm.
why we won't even go down the rabbit hole of like fast food and like the mindset of that. But it's just, it's so beautiful when you take some of these things that like we have to face and deal with every day as part of a human. Like, how can I make this like a beautiful, amazing, even spiritual experience for myself and for my
Yeah.
family?
Yeah. Because, we're like, if we use the photography analogy and the black and white photography analogy, it's like each one of us individuals are a masterpiece, can
Mm-hmm.
be a piece of art, right? A beautiful piece of art. And we have control over what we do. So we can paint ourselves different colors, we can paint ourselves in different shades. And the food part is, how are we going to put nutrition? Nutrition could be color, it
Mm-hmm.
could be the way we feel because certain foods make us feel a certain way. For instance, let's say, for example, like certain fruits are really, really, like, I don't know why I always say this, but like mangoes and peaches, they're kind of like sexy foods. They're like,
Hell
and
yeah.
they're fragrant and they're mushy, but they're kind of like,
Yeah.
and you kind of like enjoy eating that, right? And the taste of it is like so specific. You know what a mango tastes like. You know what a peach tastes like. And that burst that comes into your mouth, I'm like, I know, but like, it's like you're nourishing both your brain, your eyes, all of your senses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like have fun with food instead of just letting it be something that's going to torture you. Or like if you're going to have oatmeal, great, but make it fun or put some color to it so that it, like we say, I say eat the rainbow,
Yeah,
kind of. Your
exactly.
plate should look like a rainbow. It should be colorful. It shouldn't be bland and icky. Like, presentation, like you were talking about the chefs. They make presentation. The food, of course, has to taste a certain way that they want it to taste, but also the presentation, it makes it so that the viewer or the eater can look at it and say, wow, this is beautiful. And you want to kind of like savor it all, right? And like food can be fun. It can be nourishing. It doesn't have to be like a chore. It doesn't have to be something that's going to be hurtful. Take advantage of it. You can change whatever you do into something that you want it to be. Don't let it dictate you. You let yourself dictate what it's going to mean to you. And so all of a sudden I got passionate with art because I love art. I'm also a very big art fan. And that's one of the reasons I love living in New York, is because I love going to the museums and looking at art and things like that. But
So fun.
yeah, and just the colors. I mean, the fact that we're able to see so many colors, not as many as probably some certain animals, but still we're granted this, this vision, right? To see different colors, the different shades of it. So we might as well enjoy them. And, even tastes, there are different tastes to different things, like peppers taste a certain way. Some people don't like the taste of peppers. Okay, so find something else that has similar colors. You can have carrots that are all different colors. You can have, carrots could be orange, they can be purple, they can be a yellow color, and have fun with that. And when you do presentation, when you plate your food, plate it so that it's interesting. Like Japanese food, the art of Japanese food is like
Mm-hmm.
when you have those bento boxes, or even when it's on a tray and it's served, there's an art to it, and I'm not very familiar with it. I'll be honest
Oh,
with you.
I
I don't know.
love bento box. They're
That's
so
it.
fun.
But there's certain ways that things are, and it's pleasing to the eye. So you have to kind of like think, well, that's a respect that you pay to the food. You're thanking the
Mm-hmm.
food for
Mm-hmm.
giving you nourishment, but you're also respecting yourself by presenting yourself with that beautiful food. Um, in Japan, before we eat a meal, we say itadakimasu, which is basically we're saying we're going to eat or receive the food that you gave us. It's kind of like saying grace, maybe, but it's like a cultural thing.
I
And then
love it.
when we finish eating, we say gochusou-sama desu, which means thank you for the delicious meal. Or
So
the
cool. I want to start doing that after. I always do something before. Um, Never thought to do something after. That's brilliant. I love that.
Yeah, and it's a Japanese cultural thing. But then when you think about it, there's like a whole mindset thing to that, right? You're
Mm-hmm.
thanking whomever, right, the universe, for granting you this food, to giving you this food and nourishment. And you're also saying thank you at the end. Thank you for preparing, to the preparer for preparing it,
Mm-hmm.
and also for whoever that gave it to us. So yeah, I kind of
Amazing.
I kind of like to think of those things. And it's also giving respect to the food. I know that kind of sounds weird, but
No, it's important. Like we sometimes, again, like just take things for granted. Like we just go to the grocery store and grab something. We don't think about everything that went into it.
yeah, I know. But when you think about that, it's like the starving children and China. But
Yeah.
I remember my mom used to tell me when I was growing up, like she grew up during World War II. So, that was when it was very scarce to even have white rice, right? And so when we were kids, she would say to us, she would make rice white rice, and she would say, when I was a child, we were always told to eat every little grain of rice because they said the farmer went to a lot of trouble to create that and pick up the grains and all this. And, it's kind of like the starving kids in China syndrome.
Yeah.
But you start thinking about it. But, when you don't take it to the extreme, you realize that's a way of appreciating and respecting the person that created it. So
Exactly. So that I wanted to ask about your backgrounds, like the neuroencoding and then the brain health and all that, how that changes the way that you view issues with food. But I think you just struck a chord with the guilt thing, like especially with guilt and where it can get stored in the brain. Like if someone's listening and they haven't really thought of, oh, that kind of sounds like me, maybe I have some subconscious guilt around food.
yeah.
What are some things that you would tell them?
Well, first of all, I feel that guilt is a waste of time, and it really doesn't serve us at all, because something did happen maybe that you felt guilty about, even if it's like having food. Like, sometimes when I look at or hear about people that starved, even Tony's story, right? Tony Robbins' story about him and his childhood not having food on the table every day. I was very fortunate that I had food on the table, almost too much of it, right? And that I shouldn't feel guilty about any of that, because that was the circumstances that I was put in.
Right.
And those are the lessons that I had to learn. So we all are here on this earth to learn different lessons. And, maybe it may be different. So for some people, maybe it was that they need to learn more about to cherish food, to learn how by starvation to cherish food, and also by, overeating to also realize to respect food and to cherish it for what it is. And that you can't say food is good or bad. It's just food.
Yeah.
And we need those nutrients, and it's mostly about nutrition, right? Food is for nutrition for our bodies, but also for our souls and also for our minds. So like we were talking about presentation, that's for the eyes and the thoughts too, right? And thanking the person that prepared it. That's also up here, right? And in our souls. So those things. And so like guilt, I say, if you're feeling guilty, think about why. What purpose does it serve you? And maybe it did in the past, but does it still serve you now? Question it. A lot of things that we do, I think we do because out of habit, or because society said that, or mom and dad told me to think of it this way. But sometimes question things, think out of the box a little bit. It's hard sometimes because you're like, I don't know. But, right now we have Google. Google is master in a lot of ways.
I
You can find
know.
any answer. Just ask any question, even a stupid question that you think is stupid, right? They'll give you all these answers. Look through them and see what resonates with you. If something sounds stupid, then pass. Go to the next one. See what they have to say. But that's nourishing your brain. That's nourishing your soul. We have to know what's out there. So collect information, feed that information into your brain like a computer. And if it doesn't work for you, spit it out.
Yeah.
I think you have to expose yourself to different things too. Like what we know is not exactly what is the right thing. What's right for you, you have to decide for yourself. If I don't know, like in the Barbie movie, you always go back to Barbie.
I love it.
But she finds her own self, right? She grew up thinking that was, the Barbie land and Barbie world was her world. But she found out that there's another world out there where she can be a different version of herself, but even better, right? And she knew that she can, learn all these things. And she was able to bring that back to her people and teach them that you can be all these different things, that you don't have to limit yourself to this persona. Right. So
Mhm.
I think that's the beauty. And one of the strengths of that movie is that it's the message that anyone could be who they truly are, to find what resonates with you and to shine that brightness, because we each have something special. And, I don't like it when people say, but I'm not special. No, everyone is. There's something special about we're here on this earth because we're each special. And we each have something to contribute to this world. And it's finding that silver lining, or that, star light, or whatever it is that you have within you, and finding that passion and going with it. Because when you're really in your passion, you feel so alive. I'm sure you
Mhm.
know this. And anyone, that's been there, that's worked in corporate America, that's done, the 9 to 5, all of that, sometimes you're not aligned with that passion. But when you find, even if it's outside of the 9 to 5, when you find that passion, like if you're an artist and you love to draw, and when you're drawing, you're in that zone and you're really happy. So, try to find something, get creative, try to find ways to find that joy again, because being here on earth, we're supposed to be joyful. As human beings, we're supposed to spread joy. And I think the ultimate goal, I think for me anyway, is for everyone to be happy at the end of the day. I mean, the best way is to be happy all the time, right? And to be able to smile, because just by smiling, we release so much dopamine that we feel like, wow, you feel
Yeah.
like so great, right? And by sharing a smile with somebody, you may be changing somebody's life at that moment. It may not be life changing for them, but it could be like just a smile can make them feel like they may have had an awful fight with a friend, a best friend, and they're like down in the dumps. And even a stranger smiling at them, like, you might think, what the F are they smiling about? But then it brings a smile to your face, and it's a pattern interrupt too, because it changes the thinking that they were in, that mode that they were in, that pattern that they were
Mhm.
in. So you never know what one smile could do. And
100%.
yeah, so, I'm like, why not? I mean, who cares if they think you're an idiot or if they
Well,
think you're weird, right?
I know I have this fantasy of like, and I mean, it's just like, I don't know, maybe it's the dark part of me, but when people see me sometimes that don't know me and I'm just going about my daily life, like, what is she so goddamn happy about? I want someone to ask me, like, what are you so goddamn happy about? So I can tell them the most like insane thing that they've ever heard in their lives. And maybe I just woke them up and I
Yeah,
can continue about my day.
yeah. And even if they don't ask you, just by you being you,
Yeah,
it's probably making them think. And that's
exactly.
the pattern interrupt, which
Yeah,
they probably needed. They
yeah,
didn't know they needed it, but you provided it. So
for
that's like,
sure.
kind of like really empowering when you think about it,
Hmm.
that each one of us can make a small difference in somebody's world just by saying hi, or just smiling, or, just being cheerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. My mentor, Joseph McClendon, he had given us a challenge recently. And he said, just for the first couple days, first week or so, just meet your eye, have your eyes meet with 5 people and say hi.
Mm,
And I was
yeah.
like, wow, that's a challenge. But
Johnny was
yeah,
we have a mutual friend who I got to see when he was in Atlanta, and he was talking about that and how hard it was. And I was like, wow, that's like really cool. I
yeah,
want to do
yeah,
that.
yeah. And yeah, those are, just little things like that. Challenge yourself, because when you do that little bit that's a little uncomfortable, even if it's like maybe if we go back to the food part of it, it could be like changing one item of food that you eat a day. Like, try going to the farmer's market or something and promise yourself this 1 week, you're just going to do one new fruit or one new vegetable or one new dish
I love that.
or one new drink, even, a
Yeah.
beverage of some sort. If you've never had bubble tea, at least try it and see if you like it or not. You might hate
Yeah.
it, but at least try it and you'll be like, oh, I did something different. Okay, maybe there's some other things that I might want to try, or different types of tea. If you're into tea, a new fruit. Like I remember when dragon fruit first came out, and people weren't
Yes.
very familiar with it. And they looked kind of strange, They had the red ones and the white ones, and they looked like really like weird, right?
Yeah.
But and even when you cut into it, it's kind of weird looking. But you try it and you're like, oh, this is actually pretty good. And it could be the same for anything, even like what was it? Peaches, you have the round peaches and then you have the donut peaches, right?
Hmm.
Just try something like that even. That's not too much. It's just buying one, right?
Yeah. So fun. I love that. And I think just that, that energy of like newness is something that we don't realize we're actually craving, right? Like how many times do you see something and it's like new and improved and you're like, oh, cool, I want it. It's like if you apply that to yourself, especially if you're trying to manifest and heal and things like that, like got to get an energy and new. And like what better way to do that with something with food because you need to eat.
Yeah. And, be an explorer,
Hmm.
explore new things because there's that joy, like kids, they love exploring new things and things that are unknown to them, right?
Yeah.
Go back to that childhood wonder of exploring. Um, I'm like perpetually a kid, I guess. I love to explore. I love to, try different things. Because yeah, I think that's how we grow too.
Hmm.
And that's the little bit of uncomfort. And hey, it's not as big as trying like skydiving or bungee
Yeah.
jumping or whatever, right? It's not that extreme, but like changing just a little bit of your daily food or daily routine. Instead of walking one way like you do on your usual walks, maybe take a new road or take a detour or just stop and look up at the sky and see what the sky's telling you, right? Or stand right in front of a tree and look at the tree, and just really appreciate it for what it is. And who cares? It's, listen, I've learned that, I used to care about what people would think. Oh, people would think I'm crazy, I'm weird. Okay, I live in New York, so that doesn't happen anymore,
Exactly.
but because everyone's a little strange. And you know what? It's your uniqueness. And as I've gotten older, I'm like realizing I'm not going to hide who I am anymore
Hmm.
because it doesn't serve me. It's never served me. And being who I am and showing my true self has always, in the long run, it's always served me. It's always manifested into my next steps into life. So trust in yourself. That's a hard one, but start experimenting and start even with the mirror exercises, like, looking in the mirror and telling yourself you love yourself. That's like hard, but even if you can't say I love you, say I like you or I like this part about you, you know? I used to say, like when I couldn't do it, I used to say that I like this part about me
Oh
because
my
I
God.
used to look at the bones and I say, I like those bones. They kind of look nice.
So funny. Yeah. I mean, of a lot of homework I've given my clients over, the past decade, still to this day, the hardest one is looking yourself in the eyes and just saying, I love you.
Yeah, it is.
It's wild.
Yeah, but and if it's really difficult, I say to my clients, pretend you're saying that to your fur baby or to your, the person that you
Yes,
love in the mirror. And then start with
exactly.
that and slowly build it up to saying your name.
Yeah.
And, you know, the effect is a little similar and you'll get used to it.
For
Yeah, because
sure. Yeah.
it took me a while to say that too, believe
Yeah.
me.
When in doubt, treat yourself like you would treat your animal.
Yeah. Yeah, your fur baby.
You're so precious. I love you so much. You're so perfect.
Yeah. I mean, that same energy and that same love should be given to yourself. And we tend to forget that because we've been told, oh no, that's selfish. You shouldn't be doing that. And that's not true. We need to honor what we have, our bodies, our minds, our souls. You know, I mean, this existence is such an honor. We're blessed to even be here.
Mm-hmm.
So use it to your advantage. And if you can, look at it from a different perspective, look at it from the perspective of I can control my universe the best I
Mm-hmm.
can. At least I can control my choices and create a masterpiece with yourself because you can do it. You're the artist.
I love that. You're the artist. That's amazing. So, what is the easiest way for people to find you?
Oh, well, you could see the Brain to Belly Facebook group.
Perfect.
Also, and from there you could find my name and you could reach out to me. That would be the easiest, I would say.
Cool.
And of course, then you could DM me and I could give you like websites and, my website. It's actually YKO Coaching, which is my first name, Y, and KO for the two first letters of my last name, and coaching.com.
Perfect.
But either way, I mean, and even if you don't find me, find people like me that can help you, because the point is I want people to know that there are different ways that you don't have to struggle with food at all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so grateful for all of your insight and your beautiful energy. And I'm so grateful for everyone tuning in. Feel free to share this with a friend if you feel called to. We are so grateful for you being here. And I will see everyone on our next episode. Bye for now.